on sustainable development. So we launched a Young Builder Challenge program where we encouraged about 200 architect schools in Philippines to come up with ideas which can change their local communities. So we had some fantastic proposals, something which had ideas like improving the river in Manila, trying to make the schools more green. So those are amazing ideas which were coming from the architects. And we realized that in Philippines there's a lot of energy at the ground level, and it's someone like us who can help us tap and promote this ideas.
Very good, Ram. That is so nice to know. Thank you very much, and we look forward to a product presentation of Holcim later in the morning. And I'd like now to proceed on to Cecil. Cecil, Meralco, of course, leadership, as we all know now, is under the MVP group, and there is so much to know and to appreciate about what is going on. Certainly, you have efforts, not just in sustainability, but direct impact, not just on developers, including the programs that they have for developers, and we know we have a lot of developers in the audience, but for end users themselves. Tell us more.
Thank you, Patty. Good morning, everyone. So Meralco being the biggest electric distribution utility, we have so many programs and projects that support sustainability. First and the biggest is what we call the energy transition. Our company is committed to build 1,000 to 1,200 megawatts of renewable energy from solar, wind, and hydro. And then, because of that, we have a new subsidiary, the M-Green. And then second, we also have a subsidiary that we built 2 or 3 years ago, the Spectrum, that's into solar panel installation for residential, commercial, industrial. So they have done so many projects already of solar panel installation for buildings, vista malls. They have done so much residential and commercial establishments. And then third, which is one of the biggest also, is our support on energy efficiency and conservation. We have an energy services company we call MServe, which is into energy efficiency. So they're looking into establishments and ways for you to reduce your consumption and for you to be more energy efficient. And then to also have another subsidiary which we call Isakay. They're into electric vehicle deployment and support. So that's a way of reducing our carbon emission. So with those 4 subsidiaries, we have so many lined up projects that will definitely help our end users and consumers. And even for Meralco, ourselves internally, just recently our president has declared a ban on single-use plastic. So inside Meralco compound, we're no longer using single-use plastic. And we also have committed for 1 million trees to be planted and taken care of in the next 3 years for us to help in the carbon reduction.
I have a question for you, Cecil. Do you think the ordinary Filipino understands the whole climate crisis? Do they understand what climate change is? Do they know what sustainability is? And Meralco being Meralco, almost synonymous with, there's no Meralco. It's almost like the synonym of electricity and power. What are you doing about this in terms of public information campaigns? And what are you doing about this as well for developers to help more Filipinos understand?
Actually, based on our own Meralco research, 78% of our big customers have knowledge on sustainability. Those are the big corporations. But on the small and medium enterprises of our customers, there's just over 50% of awareness on sustainability. And the lowest is at residential, with only 20% of our customers having knowledge of that. So having said that, we're doing a lot of information campaigns and forums for our customers on all segments of our customers. So for us to create awareness and also offering our products and services on solar, on energy efficiency, on e-vehicles.
Okay, and next up here we have Carlo. Carlo here is with Solana Land, another innovator in real estate, and incidentally, he's more focused on the north. And up in the north area, he is doing new ways to build. And I'd like you to guide us more, Carlo, please.
Sure.
So at Solana we're trying to do very different things just to be able to make sure we're growing the communities in a sustainable way. Because what we don't want to happen is that the north area where where everyone is migrating to becomes just as congested as it is right now in Manila, right? So for instance, one thing that we're doing is that by law, developers are mandated to dedicate 30% of their developments towards open spaces and roads. Some would argue that you should always maximize profits and that you should always try to maximize that saleable area of 70%. But at Solana Land, we don't necessarily agree with that approach. So instead of always trying to get 70%, maybe we try to go at 60%, so we dedicate more open spaces to all our communities that we build. And then secondly, there are some innovations that we can think of. So for instance, with respect to the suppliers that we approach, I think it's a more conscious effort for us to be able to think about, like, are these suppliers building or producing their products in a sustainable manner? And like for cement, for instance, that's always a conscious effort for us to be able to understand if they're doing it in a sustainable way. Of course, it's very difficult because when you're in affordable housing, the profits are thinner. So it becomes, like I said, a conscious effort for you to be able to keep on thinking and thinking and thinking whether you're actually doing and building in the right manner. And third, we're trying to innovate better by including solar panels in the projects that we're trying to build. So, because there's a mindset that putting solar panels in your projects is just for like your houses at Forbes Park or all of these very fancy developments, but it's not. You have a business model already here in the Philippines and other developing countries where you can actually have affordable housing communities that integrate the solar panels within their projects. And that's why if you have your Pag-ibig or your banks, they actually are willing to finance the projects, the houses, inclusive of the solar panels already. So that's a good innovation, and that's what we're trying to do with the communities.
That's right. Our company is a consultant of that firm, Imperial Homes. Emma Imperial is a good friend, and she pioneered in using solar panels in low-cost and affordable housing. And wow to her, and because of that, the IFC and the World Bank has taken a closer look at the Philippines as to how we could address the housing needs using innovations in renewable energy and solar panels. In your light and up there in the north, in Pampanga, in Hermosa, Bataan, what other ways are you integrating sustainable approaches for real estate and urban development and rural countryside development? What are the other ways aside from solar panel use?
I think the other technology that we're exploring right now is water collection, rainwater collection mechanisms. There isn't a proven business model yet for that, and I think it's a bit more challenging this way because especially when you get into the summer seasons, it's basically nothing, right? But then when you're during the rainy season when there's a lot of water, it doesn't mean it's a bit more difficult. But there's so many technologies that you can explore when it comes to building these affordable houses. But like I said, when it comes to affordable housing, it becomes a bit more challenging because your margins are thinner. So you really have to be a bit more conscious of what you're doing just so you'll be able to preserve your profits, but at the same time, build your communities in a sustainable way.
That's very nice, Carla, because you touched on two important elements the Philippines is so rich of and with. We have a lot of sun, okay, with our perpetual summer and our long sunny days, and we also have a lot of rain. In Davao City, where we work a lot on several projects, high-rises and resorts, it is now mandated to have a rainwater catchment basin. And all projects have to have that rainwater catchment tank. And I'm so glad that you are also doing it both in Pampanga and Hermosa. Very good. Let's keep that running. And of course, Kay, there is so much that we also need to hear about finance and investments. And in particular, I do have a question as you introduce the efforts that your company is doing, and you as an independent consultant. How can investments be maximized with development projects, and how should real estate developers and professionals integrate sustainability in a financial perspective? Would like to zero in on finances.
First of all, I'm not a climate change specialist. I'm a financial inclusion advocate. And secondly, I'm a retiree. So I'm just continuing an advocacy and taking on private consulting. That being said, I think for financial inclusion, just to tie it up to the theme today, based on World Bank Findex data, we are highest in terms of borrowing from friends and family. We have around 15.8 million adults who have access to formal borrowing. Half of that have access to 15.8 million access to formal savings, half of that access to formal borrowing. And based on the Sun Life data, only 16% of middle to higher income have insurance. So what does this all mean for the real estate sector? It means for majority of the households, insurance is not a priority, especially for the unbanked, where they struggle every day just to meet their basic needs. And when disaster happens, it's low to minimal recovery, and that can adversely affect the real estate sector. In terms of the financial side, I think it's very important to educate every Filipino about good financial management. When we talk about resiliency, when it comes to real estate sector, it's not just about physical resiliency. It's ensuring that every Filipino has a pathway to financial independence and financial sustainability. Because otherwise, if we don't have that, then you're just stuck with the 8 million Filipinos who have access to formal borrowing as your market, and no way to expand your portfolio as well.
How do you think should we address that as a nation? If there are any policymakers here in this audience, it would be good. What, in your opinion, as a retiree and who has looked at it in a 20-year perspective, looking back, what do you think can you suggest so that we could improve the way either formal lending happens for this, or how efforts for affordable housing could help?
I believe it's important. I'll adopt Mao Zedong's economic policy on walking two legs. He said that we should have a focus on industry and agriculture if we want to achieve economic development. In the case of real estate sector, there should be a parallel focus in our policies and actions on resiliency and disaster risk management, on mitigation and immediate recovery. That being said, I think by looking at that in that angle, we can be able to manage climate change issues.
Thank you, Gay. I'd like to go back to you, Ram, and in understanding essentially what you have seen all around the world, the four of you I would like for the four of you to answer this question, and I will paraphrase it for each one. So we have what is called the SDG 17. All you have to do is check it in the internet, hashtag SDG 17. That means the sustainable goals, the 17 goals that the United Nations has promulgated for 2030. That means we technically only have 10 more years to go before we should be doing something about all these 17 aspects. If you want to develop a sustainability program in your specific companies or in your specific project, you don't even need to re-outline sustainability. All you have to do is look at these 17 salient points, and you will see that architects, planners are looking at it in a holistic basis for each of the work that they do, that we do. And in this slide, SDG 17, 17 goals of the United Nations with an end objective that by 2030, you have reached this as a country or you are doing something about it. Having traveled all around the world, Ram, and having led certain efforts of Holcim in this regard, where have you seen the best examples for sustainability management and addressing issues on climate change and correlating it to the real estate market? Where in the world should we look for good examples that's relevant to the Philippines?
For me, I might be biased because I go back to my home country. I'm from India, and what for me is, I don't think they're very super successful, but one of the things the new Prime Minister, or he's been there for 6 years now, has done is he's not made it a top-down effort. He's made it more an inclusive one, where involving the local communities for making change.
Very good.
And he has tried to address most of the sustainable development goals, not just climate change. So solar use is one thing where India has made tremendous progress, but also in terms of sanitation, in terms of access to pollution-free cooking. Last month we banned the use of single-use plastic all over the country, and India is one of the largest consumers.
Wow. Let's
So-
wait that to happen here in the Philippines. That must happen.
Yeah, and I think for me it's not the doing these actions, is the way he's doing them is a bit Asian style, because we Asians are more collective in nature. We don't just work individually. We belong to a community. We get mobilized. We change our behaviors when we see it is for the greater good. And I think he has not positioned this changes as global warming or global thing, but trying to say it's good for our own community, it's good for our own country. And that has really made people sit up and notice. And for me, that's one of a very interesting way of tackling a social problem, not just by content, but also the way you mobilize people. So that's an example I come to.
That's very good also because India poses certain problems that are also very familiar to us, like population issues, poverty. There is that certain demographic and a lot of similarities that we find in the two countries. So henceforth, some of your solutions would certainly apply. And wow, knowing that India has banned the use of single-use plastic is certainly something for us to look at. Thank you.
And for me also, I mean, when I look at Philippines, I look as a person who's just lived here for a year and 2 months. I think it's not a country that is very high in terms of emission of greenhouse gases. I mean, Philippines is around 1 ton of CO2 as compared to United States, which is around 15, China, which is close to 10 per person. So Philippines is not really what you call the major emitter of CO2.
We
But-
still have hope.
Yes, but still, when you see the culture of Philippines, I think traditionally the Filipinos have reused. There is very less waste. A lot of Philippine handicrafts that come from reuse of coconut shells, straws, etc. I think in the culture of Philippines, it's embedded not to waste material. So I think if this can be mobilized, the inbuilt trait of Filipino culture, I think there's a lot of potential to make progress on climate change here.
That's correct. And on my own thought, I was thinking we should gather all these top multinationals and these large supermarket chains. Quite a lot of them have stopped using plastic when you go buy groceries. But yet again, you see the manufacturers of toothpaste, of soap, of shampoo, and that is even harder to contain than a shopping bag. So somebody should start this campaign and get it going for the country. I'd like to proceed now to you, Cecil, and in that regard, relating to SDG 17 and the UN and what Meralco is doing and what can Meralco further do? No.
Actually, when you mentioned the 17 UN goals, I look into this is actually Meralco's template in our sustainability development. So actually, number 7 is affordable and clean energy. So and even before this SDG goals by UN, I think more than 10 years ago, we already have our MSERV, the company that's into energy efficiency. So there, as mentioned earlier, we're already involving real estate, all businesses to embark on energy efficiency programs to reduce our consumption and to make it more efficient, more usable for the customers. Again, Spectrum, our solar company, which was founded 2 or 3 years ago. By the way, we have her, Robert Pereja, our commercial head. So if you have inquiries on solar installation, he's
Hello,
very
Robert.
much
Yes,
willing to help
the
you out.
gentleman over there. If you have inquiries, might as well ask.
And then for buildings, again, for MSER, for energy efficiency, we have there Mark C. He's from our real estate industry who can help you out to do energy audit of your building so you can see what programs or projects you can do to help in your energy efficiency or energy conservation. And then again, similar to Holcim in Meralco, already banned the use of single-use plastic. That's why you can see me, I'm having my own tumbler for water. So it's really banned in the whole of Meralco. And yes, just to encourage all of our developers here to involve Meralco as early as the planning stage of your projects, not only for electricity, so you can also build into your plans the solar, the energy efficiency, and all sustainable development projects. So please contact us as early as your planning stage so that we can consider all of these programs and projects of Meralco for sustainability.